So, can you come home to God? Maybe you have wondered. Maybe you have been away from God for a long time. Maybe you have never come to God before and just quite frankly don't know where to start. Or maybe you've wandered so far away from God that coming home just seems impossible. Well, one day Jesus told a story about coming home. It was about a young man, but it was really about God and how God receives those who come home. So here's how the story went. Jesus said a young man decided that he was tired of living under his father's thumb. It was time to make his own way and be his own person. So he went to his father and asked for his inheritance in advance. Well, in that culture, this was incredibly rude. The son was essentially saying that he wished his father was already dead so he could have what was coming to him. It also said that he hated his life in his father's home and wanted to get away as soon as he could and as far as he could. Well, the father might have refused the son, but he did not. He liquidated some of his estate and gave his son the portion that would eventually belong to him. And so off his son went with a pocket full of cash to a place as far away as he could find, out from under his father's thumb, and with a fat bank account, he lived it up. Everything he had always wanted to do, well, he did it. Friends came to his parties. Life was one big bash, and it was great, and he never even thought about calling home. Well, one day he went to the bank, however, to get out some money, and he was overdrawn. His cash was gone. He had spent it all. Because he had no money, his friends, well, they disappeared. Tough times hit, and the only job he could find wouldn't pay the rent. Suddenly, life was very difficult, and no one helped him at all, not one single bit. Well, this went on for a while when suddenly one day, it hit him. He came to his senses and had a moment of clarity about his life. His father employed people that made 3 times what he was making. If he could just go work for his father, he would be far better off than he was. But could he go home? Could he stand the embarrassment? And would his father even talk to him? So he was so desperate, however, that he packed up the few things he had and he started the long trip home. All the way he rehearsed what he would say. "Dad, I'm really sorry. I've blown everything you gave me and really messed up badly. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just need a job. Can you just start me off at entry-level wages, and I promise I will not disappoint you." So finally, he pulled up in the driveway. The blinds were open, and he could see his father sitting in his chair looking out the window, almost as if he'd been looking for him to come home. The son opened the car door and got out, and when he looked up, the front door had been flung open, and his father was racing out the door. He wrapped his arms around him and gave him a great big bear hug. The son said, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I really messed up." His dad put his arm around him and walked him into the house. That night they had steaks and dessert. The father called all his friends to tell him that his son had come home. And when someone asked if he was mad, he replied, "My son was dead and is alive. He was lost, but now is found." Well, obviously I updated the story from the way Jesus told it, but it is a story about coming home to God. It isn't really about family relationships, though I suppose it works in that regard as well. It's a story about whether or not we can come home to God. Well, Jesus told it, so we would understand one simple thing. You can always come home to God. No matter how far away you have wandered, no matter how much of a mess you have made of your life, no matter how mad you think God is with you, you can come home and God will receive you. In fact, God has been waiting for you. He's been looking out the window, hoping you will come home. So you can come home. Why don't you? Come home to God. Jesus said that He would not turn away anyone who came to Him. So say a prayer, lift up your spirit to God, and tell Him that you want to come home. This is Robert Bowler Jr., and I will see you soon.